So no national hero status, it looks like, for Bob Marley or Miss Louise Bennett-Coverley. It looks instead as if they're going to be named something called national icon. Good move or bad move? And also, can we seriously talk about giving more recognition to Miss Lou if we're not going to talk about giving more recognition to the Jamaican language that she spent her whole life elevating and championing? Want to hear what you think? Stay tuned to hear what I think. I'm Dionne Jackson Miller. Thanks so much for being here. So for years, Jamaica has been talking about whether we should name Bob Marley and Miss Lou national heroes. When I say years, I mean years. Here's a 2011 letter to the editor, for instance. Also, there was a poll in 2022 which looked at whether Jamaicans wanted to name them national heroes. And more recently, a 2024 poll which said that 44% of Jamaicans supported Bob Marley being named a national hero. 36% said Miss Lou. By the way, 20% said Usain Bolt. Now, academic Dr. Opal Palmer Adisa said on her website that both Miss Lou and Bob Marley have made profound contributions to Jamaica and both deserve to be made national heroes. She said it was Louise Bennett championing the Jamaican nation language and elevating it that gave a young, conscious Bob Marley, coming after her, permission to take up this mantle of our native language and infuse it with revolutionary songs. She said the very people now lauding Marley because of the recognition and income he has generated for our music are the same people who are decrying him and trying to block him before his success. And she says they're the same small group that keeps insisting that our language is not worthy, even though they haven't done any research on language formation and development. So I asked a question on my my Twitter platform, what people thought about this new designation of national icon. And what it is, by the way, is that Prime Minister Andrew Holness had announced in his message on National Heroes Day that the government wants to create a new category in our national honors and awards that would be called national icon.
This Heroes Day, I'm very pleased to announce that the government has done their preliminary work and will be moving forward with the legal process to introduce a new national honor, the Order of National Icon. On completion of the legal process, the Order of National Icon will be conferred on the Honorable Louise Bennett-Coverley, Miss Lou, and the Honorable Robert Nestor Marley. This will be a most well-deserved and long overdue recognition of their legendary contributions to Jamaican culture and music.
And the information minister has told me that this would be the second highest national honor after the honor of national hero. So I asked people on my Twitter page what they thought, got a whole heap of responses. So we had Queen Asia, for instance, saying, I agree with national icon as it better represents their contribution to our arts and culture. National hero, in my opinion, relates to the ones we have now who fought for issues directly related to freedom, governance, liberty, and rights. Blue Reed says, disappointing, smacks of disrespect, national hero and done. No other make-up nonsense. Fabananchi says, the same impact Garvey had is the same impact Bob Marley had on Jamaica. Bob was probably even more direct. Bob deserves to be national hero. Miss Lou is debatable. And we have as well Tay saying, to be honest, I don't consider performance art to be heroic. Love them though. Icon is more suitable. So we keep hearing this idea that because both Bob Marley and Miss Lou made what are seen as cultural contributions, music, performance, poetry, that they can't be called heroes because heroes are people who were, let's say, freedom fighters, for instance, to use that word. Now, Dr. Amina Blackwood-Meek said on my TV program, All Angles, that we have to differentiate between people who use culture to entertain and people who use culture for nation building, which I thought was really profound and really gets to the heart of this conversation. When you look at the criteria to be named a national hero, Does it talk about freedom fighting or leading people in battle or war or anything like that? No. Here's what it says. The Order of National Heroes conferred upon any person born in Jamaica or who at the time of death was a citizen of Jamaica and who rendered to the country service of a most distinguished nature. So yes, a musician, a poet, a folklorist can absolutely be named national heroes if their contributions to Jamaica were distinguished enough. And are we really arguing that Bob Marley and Miss Lou's contributions weren't distinguished enough? So one of the things I think is that in Jamaica, we've always had trouble seeing greatness in our own until people abroad see greatness in them. We saw that with Garvey, and we certainly saw that with Marley as well. Sociomusicologist Herbie Miller, who knew Marley personally, in an article that was carried in the Gleaner in March 2024, said that groups like the Wailers and individuals like Peter Tosh, Bunny Wailer, and Bob Marley were not appreciated by the Jamaican elite or their elected representatives. He said the country's class and race attitudes prevented the elites from recognizing the artistic, sociological, cultural, and historical significance of the movie that Marley spearheaded. He said for the middle and upper class, Marley and his brethren were just little dirty rastas inflaming society with back to Africa mumbo jumbo and black power nonsense that had no place here in the land of out of many one people. Herbie reminds us as well that Bob Marley also took a bullet for all freedom-loving Jamaicans when there was an attempt on his life and on the lives of his wife Rita and members of his band and his backup singers, the I3, because he supported the Smile Jamaica concert that was considered political. Then he points to another concert, the One Love Peace concert, with Marley's gesture of bringing together two opposing political leaders, Edward Seaga and Michael Manley. And Herbie says this demonstrated Marley's commitment to seeking the best for his country and his willingness as a Rastaman to participate in the political struggle. That's why I said I think it's easy for us to look at Bob now with his music playing everywhere and dismiss him as just a musician, a wonderful genius musician, but that we see musician, we don't see revolutionary, and Bob Marley was a revolutionary. And in the same way, I think what we're doing nowadays, looking at Miss Lou through 2024 glasses and, festival and every single event that has ever had a cultural item with someone doing a Miss Lou poem, and we see her now as somebody who dressed in bandana and wrote Jamaican poems, So Opal Palmer Adisa said on her website she called Miss Lou a cultural warrior, an ethnographer who elevated Jamaican folklore and language. And the work that Miss Lou did in championing the Jamaican language was revolutionary in a country where over the years uptown Jamaica has seen and still sees the Jamaican language patois as bad talking and refuses to acknowledge it, in fact, even as a language. And I don't think you can divorce this conversation, about whether Bob Marley and Miss Lou should be named national heroes from the kind of class prejudices that surrounded the kind of work they did. And here's the thing. Here's an idea for you. How do we talk about further recognizing Miss Lou as a national icon or anything else and not talk about further recognizing the language that she spent her entire life promoting, researching, and elevating? How is it that we are so reluctant to name the Jamaican language a national language? No, all right, everybody start bringle now. But here, first of all, let's be clear. I said name Jamaican language a national language, not the national language, not instead of English, but alongside English. Whole heap of countries have more than one official language. Not a thing is wrong with that. Also, not a soul is suggesting that Jamaicans should only speak Jamaican. I have never, ever, ever heard that suggestion made in any serious conversation. What people are saying is we speak two languages, let us recognize them both, let us give credence, and recognition to both languages. Also, Not a soul is forcing you to talk in a way that you don't want to talk, all right? It's not about that. It's about Jamaican society, the Jamaican people, and how the Jamaican people speak. My main point here is that it's inconsistent to talk about further recognizing Miss Lou while refusing to recognize the Jamaican language. And yes, we can't have the discussion outside of looking sideways at Barbados and what Barbados did when they elevated Rihanna to national hero status. Not saying we should follow Barbados. That's not what I'm saying. I am saying, though, that it opens up in a whole new light the idea of who and what is a national hero. You know, the idea that a national hero is somebody who did long time and, you know, fought in the days of slavery for independence or emancipation or anything like that, is something that I think we should reconsider in our definition of who or what is a national hero. So yeah, I do think that both Bob Marley and Miss Lou should be named national hero. I think part of the issue around that conversation is the long-held class prejudices. Maybe not so much Marley now, because, you know, everybody foreign accept Marley, so it's a big thing everywhere. But certainly Miss Lou, I think, continues to have a lot of that, I'm going to use the word stigma in terms of the language and how we see the language. I think the two are bound up when people say, oh, you know, she's a performer, she's a poet, whatever, not looking at the underlying revolutionary nature of the work that she did and also the revolutionary nature of the work that Bob Marley did. So another time I'll do a full video on the Jamaican language itself, right? And then we can argue about that separately, because my own position on that has been transformed over the years because of the reading I've done, because of the research that I've looked into, because of the many interviews I've done with the experts who have actually studied this issue. So another time we talk about that. Won't go into that further today. So I'm going to leave it there. As always, want to know what you think. Please drop your comments below. And as always, I ask you to share the video with somebody you think might be interested in it. Like it as well and subscribe to the channel to help us to continue to grow. I'm Dionne. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.